Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Paper Mario. I am Mega Freak 400 and Sarah Kingdom in the background. This one's I still like it because of the color, so yeah, this is cool. Here's a Dark Moth. These guys are like the highest, I think, defense. Maybe attack too, but I think they're definitely the highest defense enemies. Not too much big of a deal. Might be kind of hard with Mario, but with Bowser, they're pathetic. Key. So yeah, there's not really anything else in this room. So kind of just keep going on, keep moving forward. We can do it. We can do it. And yeah, okay, here's an example of like that guy. He's kind of stuck under there. So the best course of action would be just to well, either use another item or just to jump on top of him when he comes out like that. So yeah, that's the best way of doing those guys. Personally, at least. I guess I think you could use a hammer, but I feel like that's still a better solution. And some dark clubbers. Aw, look at them sleeping in their silhouetted forms. These guys have heavy defense too, though, because it took 3 hits to take them out. Then again, I don't think I had cards for them either. Jump, jump for great justice. But yeah, what else can I yammer on about? Jump. I'm not making any sense. Getting kind of tired. I need to get better at finishing games. Is the thing. I have like so many games I have not finished yet. Like, you know, one of my friends, actually we were drinking alcohol, but partying rather, but we were, you know, I think it was Truth or Dare, but basically it was, so do you, or how many of your games have you beaten? And I'm like, not that many, I really haven't. And they're like, oh, I thought you bought a game, finished it, and then bought another game. And I'm like, I wish that was the case. I mean, that's kind of my thing is when I finish a game, I come back and, here's the thing, most of the games I've played tend to be the same games that I've played, like, that's how you know a game is good too. Like, or really good at least. There's a lot of games a lot of the games I have I like and they're good, but the ones like I've played Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie so many times at this point, and I still want to play them again. And I just played them recently, and yet there's other games that are just really hard to get into. Like I still haven't finished Okami. I've been playing that since like summer of 2008 or something. Or wait, no, not summer of 2008, but like. Since at least a year or over a year and a half, a good chunk of time I've been playing Okami. And it's a good game, though it's kind of, you know, it's a good game. I was gonna jump off. I have another point to go on from that, but yeah, I really, for whatever reason, it's not even that I don't like the game. It's just I have a hard time, you know, playing a game and then sticking to it. Sometimes I'll like jump offward, or I'll get onto an urge to play a certain game even if I've played that game before and beaten it. So as a question, is that the way for you guys too? Have you beaten all your games, or do you have a library full of unfinished games? Not only on that, when I do beat games, I buy a ton too. So like I have this whole library of games I just haven't finished all of them. But anyway, the jumping off point was going to be like, I feel like, and I've done the same thing, I feel like there's like this illusion that games are underrated when they're really not. Case in point, I feel like, I mentioned this kind of in Wind Waker a little bit, but not so much, like I said specifically back in the day. I feel like people didn't like Majora's Mask when it came out back in the day. Now it's considered most people's favorite Zelda, so I don't think like that's a game that's considered underrated. And even Luigi's Mansion, I said it was kind of like underrated, but like everyone I talked to loves it. So, you know, I don't, you know, I think it's, I mean, there's a few, I guess here's the thing, it's also a perception of when you see one person saying it, that automatically gets you in the mind of, oh, well, everyone hates it. Like, you only have to hear one person saying it, and you're already getting that kind of mindset. So if you have one person say Luigi's Mansion sucks, you're going to think, oh, it's underrated, because one person thinks it sucks. More so than if no one says anything, or if one person says it's great. Obviously, you'll think it's great if everyone, so it's all in terms of perception, basically, but, my point here is, I think there's a lot of games out there that, okay, there's a few facets. There's games like that, like Majora's Mask, which people think are underrated, or, well, it really is a good game. People think it's bad. I don't know. I think most people think it's actually good, at the very least. They may not like it, but they at least, I don't really see all that much hate for Majora's Mask. So I think there's, like, this perception of this game is kind of the dark sheep, when really it's not for most people. But people get this mindset of it, so it becomes the dark sheep. Then again, there's also, it is surprising sometimes how much, there are some people out there, and this is another thing you guys can let me know. I wish there's so many live streams right there. Who haven't played obvious games, and I'm not sure if these are like, at least in terms of like I've seen on other people's YouTube channels and even on my own occasionally. I'm not sure if these are the people who are just really, really young, so they just never heard of this game before, which I feel is the case. I mean, if you think about it, I hate to use the thing of, oh, there's 12-year-olds on the internet. There probably is. I mean, think about it. I mean, I've grown up with the internet for my life, and when I was 12, I was on the internet too. So, yeah, there's probably a lot of 12-year-olds. So I do, as much as you want to say they're, certain people could be immature, well, they may very well be because of age. That's the thing with the internet. There's a little bit of yeah. So, anyway, my point is with that, yeah, some of these people might not be knowing this game, but I don't know. I feel like there's been these misconceptions a lot of people have of games being bad, but for the majority of people when that isn't the case. Another thing is, cult games. I feel like there's games out there that, I mean, like, obviously there's a lot of people out there, and they're gonna think, oh, this game's kind of obscure, but, not really this game's obscure, but they're not gonna know about it, obviously. But I feel like there's a difference between a game that's obscure and unknown, and a game that's a cult game. Cult games aren't unknown, they're just, like, they're really, really loved. Most people don't. Usually, cult games are games everyone knows, but they might not have seen or played, I feel, a lot of times. And they're also games that get this intense love that might not have been initially given. Earthbound is kind of, or the Mother series in general, is kind of a cult game where specific people tend to really like that series. But that's not by no ways unknown. Everyone knows Earthbound and Mother for the most part. Or most people. Again, you gotta factor in age, because when I'm talking about most people, I'm talking about people who are like, have been around. Think about the age of the internet. Even if you are new, you could easily, like, look up things. I mean, maybe I'm the only person who just randomly surfs the internet for information. I probably am, but, I do that from time to time. But yeah, there's games, like, so basically, like, Okami is kind of like that. I feel like a lot of people think, oh, it's this really unknown game, and it is to an extent, definitely more so than Mother. Mother's not at all unknown, I feel, but, Okami is, somewhat unknown, but I feel it's definitely more of a cult game than it is, like, this obscure, never-before-seen game. Like, games that are more obscure, the Mystical Ninja series, no one really ever, those games don't get much acknowledgement. Mischief Makers, somewhat. Mischief Makers is actually kind of cult, kind of obscure. It's an obscure cult game, rather. Like, I feel like Okami's more well-known, for example, as being an obscure game than Mischief Makers is. But then again, Mischief Makers is also cult, and it's also a little bit older, too. So, they're kind of probably on par. There's a lot of games I have that I don't think people know about. Kid Icarus is an example of a game that's a cult game that's not at all obscure. It's insanely popular. Almost too much so for some people. I like Kid Icarus, personally. There's a game, a lot of games on the VC, I think, that are, like, really good that people don't know about. Like, Euphoria the Saga is a really great game, and I don't think, many people know about that one. That one's pretty obscure, actually. So, I think, like, obscure, you had to have, like, I don't think cult games really count as being obscure, personally, as much. Because the thing is, the fact that they're a cult game kind of detracts from it being obscure. It is less known than, like, Mario Galaxy or something, but, like, it's Mario Galaxy. That's pretty well known. But, I do feel like that's something that I wish I would get better at in terms of, like, buying games, is buying some more, kind of experimental titles. The problem with that, though, is I always don't want to, worry about spending money I don't have on games that might not have a payoff. That's why I used to rent games back in the day, but then I got, you know, kind of sick of, you know, renting a game and then never buying it. So I kind of would, you know, I would be in favor of like doing the renting and then also, you know, buying the game if I like it possibly, but or if I like it a lot that I want to have it. The problem is you never know at the time if you're ever going to want to have it for keeps. But I do want to attempt to try more kind of unknown titles. I've been kind of doing that a little bit more lately than I have. Like, then again, I haven't gotten as obscure. That's the one reason why I really like the VC service as much as people decry it. I've gotten a lot of really nice titles on the VC service that I, you know, would never have played had I not, you know, used the Virtual Console service. I would never have played because I would have never known about them because they're really old games, and they're, you know, even some of the WiiWare games, people decry WiiWare too, but, so, you know, and then I complain about people, like, thinking that things are decried because of the personality. More of, I've seen people decry it, you know, multiple people, but then again, maybe that's not the majority. The problem is, we base our opinions a lot of times on the loud minority, as opposed to what might be the actual majority, which is an issue. There's not a ton you can do about it besides just trying to keep an open mind, though. But like games that I've gotten that I've really discovered the joys of via the VC. Okay, we have Adventures of Lolo. Those series I first played on the VC. The Bonk games and the Air Zonk, you know, never would have even known of them without the VC. Biomiracle, Bakuta Upa. Blaster Master, but I haven't really got into that as much, so I wouldn't really. Do-Re-Mi Fantasy, you know, Echo the Dolphin for that matter, but that's a good game. It's just Echo the Dolphin brings back bad memories. Golden Axe I played when on the Sega Genesis. The Mystical Ninja game, obviously, I mentioned. Yes, I am looking. I have a list of every game I own. I just mentioned that. I mean, I guess Star Tropics. Star Tropics is another one that I didn't even know existed, and it's published by Nintendo. Like, that's like a Nintendo-published title. And you're talking about, like, you know, Majora's Mask being a black sheep, and you're talking about, like, Okami being obscure. Star Tropics is a Nintendo-published title, and I don't think it gets the credit it deserves a lot of times. That's obscure. You know, so there's those. Oh, this guy. I wanna talk about this guy. This is a Dark Barrier. I'm being dumb. Ignore everything I'm doing right here. Basically, Dark Barrier. Obviously, you're supposed to go flip around it to go to the barrier inside, but he's on the floor. Just use Bowser's Fire. You can reach inside there. But I didn't realize this on the first way down. So as you see, I'm being stupid here. But yeah, just use Bowser. Bowser is so much simpler, and I'm being insanely dumb. And yeah, just go on the right side and just breathe fire at him. And instead I decided using an item, which also worked, but again, just use Bowser's Fire. But yeah, I guess that's my thing. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, I mean, there's no real reason with obscure, you know, giving things titles. I guess my thing is, you know, I guess my thing is, to an extent, people on different forums and different, you know, other, you know, channels will, like, be like, oh, this game is so obscure, but it's like, yeah, to an extent, but you're spreading the word of a game that is already kind of well known. And then the problem is when you're spreading these somewhat well-known games, you're ignoring the actual true games that I feel do get really underrated. You know, like some of the ones I mentioned, and I feel like it's, you know, it's great to spread the word of great games. Just don't act like you're, you know, like this heroic savior of the underrated when you're doing games that aren't really that underrated. And I feel like I've seen people kind of do this on, like, forum topics and stuff like that before, and just, I don't know, it just... I mean, I did Yoshi Safari. Do Yoshi Safari, and then you can talk about obscure. So this has been Make Fun, reminding you that Yoshi Safari is a good game.